Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy RotoBeast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our MLB On Deck for Wednesday, August 5th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't came and checked out our website here at DFSCheatSheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel and Draftkings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to check out the site here at DFSCheatSheet.com. So what up, Jeremy? How you doing out there, bro?
I'm good, man. Another day. NBA is off. Got the cash line going for that. And then MLB's been on fire, man. We've been on fire actually with everything we've touched since we started. I'm not trying to be arrogant or brag about it, but golf's been on point. NASCAR's always on point. You've been on point with NBA. We've been absolutely on fire with MLB. I think yesterday's two videos, guys we mentioned by name that hit home runs yesterday was crazy. I want to say it was like 7. When we do the core plays video, I think Chris took notes on it because between the three of us, I want to say it was like 6 or 7 guys that hit bombs yesterday that we mentioned by name, like cheap value guys too, like Duggar with a 2. He had a home run that got overturned, but the 2 ended up being a 2 RBI double. Kendrick with the whole big 25-point game. The kid in San Diego hit the solo home run. I mean, so yeah, we've been on fire, man. These are good.
Even our boy, hey, we always talk about it. We don't want to necessarily pay up all the time, but hey, we talked about how much we loved Mike Trout, coming off of the birth of his child, feeling good, and bam, hit a home run for us right there.
Bro. First pitch. Huh? First pitch, a little pep in the step.
Like, damn, have my baby. Oh, yeah, we about to get it in. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly how we said it, too, right? I mean, I pretty much said yesterday, guarantee a home run. He's got to be feeling good. He just had his first child, going to come back with the pep in the step, and that thing was a laser.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, man, I'm ready to talk some baseball today. We got a 10-game slate. Not going to spend a crazy amount of time on it and kind of harp on some teams that we don't necessarily care about. So let's kind of push through. If there is a team that we absolutely love, definitely spend a little bit more time. If not, let's just keep pushing. Let's get through these games. You ready to go?
I think the first game we start with is going to have some definite interest in.
Sure. I have actually a really, really quick question before we jump in. So, I mean, what is your thoughts on the MLB as a whole? With more teams are starting to come up with tons of coronavirus positive tests, stuff like that. Do you think we're going to get through this season?
Yes, I think we're going to get through the season. I think that the big news with baseball came last week when the Major League Baseball and the Players Union agreed to 7-inning doubleheaders. I think that does a lot. I think that showed baseball's commitment to finish this thing. And look, you're in the middle of a pandemic. You can't expect, if you're traveling around, that some guys aren't going to test positive. The good news in the situation is that nobody's had any serious symptoms from COVID. Everybody's either been asymptomatic or very mild symptoms. So, there's been a lot of positives as far as with the Cardinals and the Marlins missing, I think, a week and a half. But Derek Jeter pretty much threw his guys under the bus and said that was 100% on them. They didn't take it serious. They didn't, they got a little too comfortable, weren't wearing their mask, went outside, not paying attention to stuff. And look, I think that with the Marlins looked a little bit like maybe it was a fluke, and then it happened to the Cardinals. And I think you're going to see players take it more serious as far as not trying to go out and just travel to the city they're going to, and then go to your hotel, go to the park, get back on the bus, and go to the next town. I think that's why we'll finish the season. I think players will take it more serious. They got money to lose, right? They got money to lose, and you can't – this is not like last year where you go into a town, you're there for 3 days and go live it up while you play.
Right. Yeah, also, too, I mean, my only thing I'll say about it is I think at the end of the day, and I know it's tough, but I think that MLB should have kind of went the same route as NBA, soccer did, all those where they kind of do the bubble thing because it's been working out a lot more for them. You know what I mean? In reality, they're traveling city to city. You're exposing yourself. Whether you're trying to be cautious or not, you're still exposing yourself at the end of the day, in my opinion. You know what I mean? But, yeah, hey, let's jump into it. Let's talk some baseball. So, first game we're going to talk about, we got Minnesota going into Pittsburgh to face the Pirates.
And give me as much Minnesota as I can have today. I mean, they face Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams is 0-2. He hasn't done anything great. He does have okay strikeout numbers as far as he's pitched in 8 innings and he has 9 strikeouts. But he's giving up earned runs and he's not missing bats. It's nothing spectacular. It's a very potent Minnesota lineup. I mean, 1 through 9. You talk about Mitch Garver. You talk about where do you want to start? Is basically what all I can say with Arias, Adrianza. You've got Polanco. You've got, oh, by the way, Nelson Cruz, Eddie Rosario, Jake Cave. I mean, Marwin Gonzalez. Nelson Cruz. This lineup is stacked. So give me all of Minnesota today. I think Minnesota puts a big number up against Pittsburgh. I like it a little bit more if it was in Minnesota, but it is in Pittsburgh, and I think they put up a huge number. It's not a good bullpen for Pittsburgh either.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely agree with you. On the Pittsburgh side of things, I really don't got too much crazy interest. I'm not going to really spend too much time with them. A couple guys I think you could look at. Adam Frazier, batting at the top of the order at 2,300. I think he's a cheap value play. You can look at Josh Bell, 2,900. Really good price tag. The only other guy I'm really going to be looking at is Gregory Polanco at 2,400. These are guys that in the past couple of years they've been studs, and they necessarily haven't got it going this year. But coming in at a cheaper on a cheaper side of things, I think that you could possibly look at those guys. Pittsburgh's not necessarily my favorite team today. I think that you could kind of get one-offs there for cheap if you want to kind of round off your lineups. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Toronto going into Atlanta to face the Braves.
And, I mean, look, Toronto's going to face Sean Newcomb. You talk about Sean Newcomb. Really good ISO numbers for Newcomb. Only a 106 ISO against him from left-handed bats, a 163 ISO from right-handed bats last year. K numbers for him, they're not great, but they're decent, 23.6 to lefties and 20.6 to righties. I don't really want too much of Toronto. I think that this ball game really favors Atlanta. We saw Atlanta kind of come out last night and put a bunch of runs on the board. Acuna gets hot. Dansby Swanson's been hot. The lineups, it's potent. So for me, Toronto is a fade.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you. And I mean, I understand that Atlanta has been hot. I mean, one thing I will say though is, Raul obviously he started his career with the Dodgers, had a really good season last year. I mean, he's not a pushover pitcher, and so as much as Atlanta has been on fire, I think that you definitely could look at them today. I just don't know if it's necessarily the best spot. But we have talked about Atlanta's stadium out there. It's a hitter's ballpark. Balls fly. They call it the Coors Field of the East. So I mean, you definitely, like I said, I definitely think that you can look at them. They're just not crazy high on the board. I mean, like I said, Raul is a pretty good pitcher. He's not a pushover. Although I will say, two starts so far, he's given up 8 earned runs, so average of four runs a game, giving up some hits. I like Atlanta, strictly GPP for me. You're going with their main guys. Acuna at the top of the order, Swanson, Ozuna. All those guys are definitely in play. Dienard in the cleanup spot at 2,700. You can look at him. And then the last two guys I'll quickly throw out there. I mean, you can look at Duvall, gives you power upside. Austin Riley, you were telling him play him last year when he had first broke in, and the guy definitely showed massive upside. So I basically think you can look at all these Atlanta guys as kind of a cheaper stack. They're coming in pretty cheap outside of Acuna, but they are GPP stacks for me going against Raul, who's a decent pitcher, and I think that he can have a pretty good game today.
The difference in Ryu this year and last year, you look at last year, 140 ISO, 153 ISO. You look this year, 429 ISO to lefties and a 273 ISO to righties. And the K percentage to righties is all the way down to 18.9. So Ryu's just not right. Maybe he'll get right. This is not a spot tonight to me where a guy hasn't been right and he goes into a place that you call the Coors Field of the East. Right. It's just not. I don't think that's the get right spot. If he was going into Wrigley Field and the wind was blowing in at 20, okay.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Like I said, but I mean, at the end of the day, Atlanta, I mean, they have 4.6 over spread. So I mean,
applied run total.
Yeah, I mean, applied run total. So it's not nothing crazy high. For sure. But I'm with you completely. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Cincinnati going into Cleveland to face the Indians.
And this is an uncomfortable chalk play, right? I mean, on paper, Clevenger should be the chalk of the day, but it's in an uncomfortable environment. Right. Actually, it's in Cleveland tonight, right? It's not – so they're back home. So Clevenger, to me, Cincinnati's a little bit underwhelming. I think a lot of people had higher hopes for them than starting off at 500. They're definitely a dangerous lineup, 1 through 9, but – I think this is an opportunity for Clevenger. 11 strikeouts in 2 starts. He has pitched 11 innings over those 2 starts. Got hit a little bit hard by Minnesota, giving up 4 earned runs. But to me, Clevenger feels like he's the best pitcher far and away on the slate. So you start there with Clevenger. On the Cincinnati side, as far as the bats go, like I said, it's a potent lineup. You could look at Moustakas. I would look to get the left-handed bats in this lineup with Moustakas. This lineup hasn't confirmed yet. There's a couple of guys in this lineup for me that, Aquino, we haven't really seen him yet. If he's in that lineup at 2,300, is the guy that I would get in there. Shogo Akiyama, he leads off. He's 2,300. I would look to get some of these guys in my lineup tonight for Cincinnati. But outside of that, I actually have to mention Joey Votto, right? Joey Votto, straight professional baseball player, one of the best pure hitters in all of baseball for a long time. You can include him in that stack as well. But for me, I'm not excited about Cincinnati in Cleveland. If it was in Great American Small Park, I definitely want to leverage Cincinnati and hope they could spoil a Clevenger start. But it being in Cleveland, I don't have a ton of interest in it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. So on the flip side of things, you got the Indians going against a guy who, new to the league. To Jay Antone, he's not a guy that really scares me too much. I'm looking at some of these Cleveland bats. They're coming in pretty cheap still. So far today, through 3 games, we got some cheap guys out there, some cheap stacks that you compare with some of the teams that we're going to get to later in this video. But you got Cleveland. They got a 4.6 implied total. You got Cesar Hernandez starting at the top of the order, 2,500. Jose Ramirez, 3,600. Lindor, Santana. The top 4 guys in the lineup are all fair price. I think that's a pretty cheap stack. You look at them. You can always look at Reyes. Reyes does give us some pop. Double dong upside at 2,300. He's a guy you can look at. But for me, that's really where I'm at. I'm going to stick with their top 5. I'm loving that 1 through 4 stack. If you do want to get kind of a cheaper stack here at home in Cleveland, I think that those guys are in play. But that's really where I'm at with Cleveland for sure. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Chicago Cubs going into KC to face the Royals.
Your boy, Darvish. I'm not a Darvish fan. But I have to give him credit through last season.
I'm not trying to interrupt you. My bad. So really quick, I didn't touch on Clevenger basically just because you took everything that I was going to say about Clevenger. He's going to probably be the chalk, at home, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't really harp on him, but I do like Clevenger as well.
I think there's a chance, though, that Darvish may be slightly more owned in cash games for the simple fact that there's a $100 difference on FanDuel between Darvish and Clevenger. And on paper, it just looks like Darvish has the better matchup against the Royals. People are going to think, Cincinnati, well, the Royals suck. Cincinnati's supposed to be really good. So Darvish could be a little higher owned. I'm not a Darvish fan, but to me what sticks out about Darvish right from jump is you look at this season, an 080 ISO to lefties and an 077 ISO to righties, as compared to last season where there's a huge discrepancy in his ISO of 222 to lefties and 171 to righties. Not to mention, last season he was 2-6 at Wrigley Field. He wasn't good at Wrigley. He was really good on the road. So, if he's going to continue to be really good on the road and the ISO numbers are going to remain where they at, this guy is by all means the clear-cut number 1 pitcher on the slate. He's a guy I'm so uncomfortable playing. As far as the bats go, look, you're going against Chris Bubik. He's 0-1. He fell through to 2 of the White Sox, giving up 2 earned runs in his last appearance. Decent young pitcher, I guess you might say, but this is a potent Chicago Cubs lineup, and it gets underlooked. You start at the top, Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant. You got Wilson Contreras. You got Javi Baez. I love that stack today. Kansas City, they've just played 2 games at Wrigley where the wind was blowing in. One of our big rules is the wind's blowing in at Wrigley, load up a pitcher. So they're going to get away from that environment. I think Chicago's sneaky tonight as far as the stack goes. I would find out a way to build 4-man stacks with 3 bats, and Darvish is the 4th guy. I like Chicago a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then on the Royal side of things, I like you Darvish. He's a guy that I actually currently have penciled in as my chalk cash game player. It definitely could change as I kind of get more into this slate. But right now, I currently have them penciled in. So for the Royals, I mean, I don't really have too much crazy interest in them. The three guys that I would look at if I want to get kind of a little mini Royal stack, be off the board. You're looking at Merrifield, you're looking at Mondesi, you're looking at Soler. I think that both of those guys are in play, but I'm not really going to go. Oh, last guy I'll throw out there too. He's kind of started the season off pretty good. Is Miguel Franco. I think he's a GPP play as well. But outside of that, I really don't have too much interest here in this Royals today going against Yu Darvish. I actually like Yu Darvish as the pitcher today. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Milwaukee going into Chicago to face the White Sox.
Yeah, and look, I mean, first of all, Milwaukee comes in with one of the lower implied run totals on the board at 4.2. So whenever you're, like I'll say it over and over again, whenever you're that far down the board with an implied run total, people are not going to look at you. They're going to face Dallas Keuchel. This is a really right-handed lineup, though, for Milwaukee. So I do think you can look at some guys here. Keuchel has not been the same pitcher since he went to the postseason with Houston and dominated. And then, there's been the contract stuff. He didn't play half of last season. Now he's at a different ball club. He's in Chicago. I know Chicago has high hopes for him. But I definitely think you can look at like Keston Hiura, right-handed bat with a lot of power against the left-handed pitcher. I think you could possibly look at Sogard as a value play of 2,500. Orlando Arcia, 2,200. I think that there's some value in this stack. Ben Gamel, if you want to get the left-on-left, maybe hope Ben Gamel runs into one like he did last night. And then obviously there's Christian Yelich, 4,000, has not gotten off to the hottest start, hasn't got off to the start he got off to last year when he won the MVP. You kind of look at his player card, and he's got 4 zeros on the board already where he's put up nothing. So Yelich feels to me like, hey, maybe you get away from home, you go get on the road. They played the 3 games at home, didn't do anything. Maybe Yelich gets going here. He's overpriced for his recent performance, and he's only hitting 088 this season. So you can include him in a stack, maybe a sneaky one-off today, but I definitely think you can build a Milwaukee stack against Keuchel going into a warmer environment in Chicago.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on the White Sox side of things, there's some guys we could definitely look at. You mentioned it. Keuchel isn't the same guy. I mean, we're going to start with the man himself, man. You talk about the rookie, been on absolute fire, Luis Roberts. I think that he's a guy that you can definitely look at today going against the struggling Keuchel. I like him. Outside of him, I mean, it's really – they got him at the top of the lineup. It's really 1 through 5 for me. You got Roberts, you got Moncada, gives us some power upside. Abreu, Grandal, he hits lefties pretty good. And then you got Edwin Encarnacion. He's currently questionable if he is in the lineup. He's a guy that hits lefties better. I'm actually really surprised in the pricing with the White Sox. I think they're all very fair price. Even the guy Luis Roberts, who's been absolutely killing it. So for me, I like this 1 through 5 stack. I think that you can mix it up and kind of go about it that way. But I definitely like I said, I like White Sox going against this guy Hauser, who the guy's decent, but he's not showing us nothing where, we want to stay away from him. Cool.
Load up the White Sox today.
Yeah, I know. I like the White Sox as well. Yeah, my bad. I got confused. For a second, I was thinking that the White Sox are going against Keuchel, and I was like, hold on a second. Yeah, I like him even more going against Hauser. Definitely think this is going to be a pretty fun game. And the wind's blowing a little bit out there as well. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got San Francisco going into Colorado to face the Rockies.
Again, man, the Giants are too cheap for Coors Field. Are the Giants too cheap for their performance? Probably not. If they were playing at AT&T Park, you'd say they're overpriced, but everybody gets a bump when they go to Coors Field, and the bump from their regular $2,500 price tags to $3,000 players at Coors Field is too cheap. The lineup's already been confirmed. I love Brandon Belt hitting cleanup for $3,400. The matchup against John Gray. John Gray's been decent at home. I recommended using John Gray the other day in tournaments, and he turned out what looked like was going to be a pretty solid performance to start with, but only 17 points, went 5 2/3, only gave up 2 earned runs. Not a lot of hard contact, but only 2 strikeouts. Look, I think the Giants are super sneaky here because they've been there twice. People have noticed the price tags. We're not the only ones saying they're cheap. And they haven't really performed. They've lost both games. They did put up 5 runs last night. We did mention Yastrzemski and Dickerson 2 nights ago. They both hit bombs. We mentioned Steven Duggar by name yesterday as the guy who recommended. He had a home run overturned, ended up being a 2 RBI double. And at $2,500 in Coors Field, he put up more than value. So I like this lineup. like I said, it's been confirmed. You got Belt hitting cleanup. I like him. You got Sandoval in the 6th spot. You can look to use him. Wilmer Flores, I would fade him in this matchup just for the simple fact that I like him better against the lefties. Donovan Solano in the 3 spot is what I want to hear. One of their hottest hitters. He's really been the guy that's produced for him. You can look at his player card. You see multiple 30-point games this year. Multiple times he's been over 15 points this season. So to me, I think the Giants find a way to win one game in this series. I think today's a day that you can load them up, and I think they're very sneaky because people have been burned by him the last 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, on the Colorado side of things, I mean, I think it's very simple. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? You got Colorado, one of the more better offenses in the league, going against Logan Webb, who hasn't been bad this year. But at the same time, I mean, he's only pitched no more than 4 innings. I don't like an inexperienced pitcher against a really good lineup in Coors Field. I think it's a little bit scary. For me, I'm going to definitely get as many Colorado stacks as I can. You know, and there's not really any select guys because even the guys at the bottom of the lineup, they're coming in dirt cheap. Definitely could get you value right here. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You get yourself some Colorado, mix up the stacks, and you kind of go about it. Definitely love Colorado. I think they're a great play today. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Texas going into to Oakland to face the A's.
And Kyle Gibson's not a guy that I want to get exposure to tonight. I mean, Kyle Gibson has been, I would say, a mediocre pitcher for the course of his career. He's been a professional, I guess. He's a guy that kind of eats innings for you. But this is I don't want any part of him going against this Oakland lineup. They can explode really at any moment. You saw Lance Lynn last night have a really good 6 2/3. And then the wheels came off, and I think Oakland ended up putting up 5 or 6 runs in the 8th inning. So I don't want any part of Gibson. They can explode at any time. As far as the bats go, facing Sean Manaea, yeah, I want some exposure to Oakland because of the same fact that they said that. But from a Texas side of it, you know, maybe you take up, you know, it's hard for me to say because they got left-handed bats and it's a left-on-left matchup. I mean, I'm not excited about Kenner Falefa. I'm not excited to play Elvis Andrus. I'm just not excited about that, mainly because I think Manaea is a guy who's going to get going, and he's had 2 bad starts. I don't think he's regressing.
Yeah, no, he's a good pitcher for sure. Yeah, I mean, on the Oakland side of things, like you said, this is a potent offense. I liked him today. I think going against Kyle Gibson, he's a guy that, like you said, eats up innings, but he also gives up runs. You got the wind blowing out 13 miles an hour out there in Oakland, so that's going to help these hitters as well. You got Simeon, Chapman, Olsen, Liriano, Canna, they're all swinging solid bats. You could even look at a Chris Davis, kind of had a slow start to the season, but at 2,600, the guy gives you double dong upside. You know, you could even throw in a little bit of Piscotty. I like these guys a lot. You know, and just it's a small sample size, but you got Liriano 6 for 8, a double and a home run. You got about 5-6 of these Oakland guys who have pretty solid numbers against Gibson. They definitely put the ball in play, not very many strikeouts. So I like these Oakland bats going against Gibson today for sure.
Hey, bro, real quick, let me ask you a question. Have you looked at the profile pictures for Chris Davis and Pablo Sandoval?
I haven't, no. They look the same?
No, but those 2 guys have the best. Pablo's and Chris Davis has got they both have it. They stick out to me because they both have the funniest freaking faces. Everybody else is pretty serious, but look at Chris Davis and look at Pablo Sandoval's pictures.
Yeah, I'll have to check them out right now. Hold on really quick. Let me go. Well, I have Oakland up. Let me look at Chris Davis. Oh, yeah, he has a little smirk with one lip up.
Yeah. Now go look at Pablo.
Right,
Pablo looks straight like the panda, man.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, he did. With the little frown. Looks like he got a frown right there.
It looked like he's confused about something.
Yeah, no, I see what you're talking about for sure. Yeah, moving on. Next game we're talking about, we got Houston going into Arizona to face the Diamondbacks.
Give me as much Houston as I can get. I mean, last night I absolutely loved Houston, and I loved the rookie pitcher that was going. This is the second time that I recommended you, Christian Javier. I was going to say this is the second time I recommended using him. The next day I couldn't remember his name, but I loved Christian Javier yesterday. It was funny because Chris and I did the On Deck video for yesterday, and then we all did it when Javier faced the Dodgers, and I talked about Javier, and you said, bro, not tonight, not against the Dodgers, and he struck out 8, went 5 2/3, right? And then yesterday I was all over Javier again, and Chris was like, nope, Arizona. Arizona's going to light him up. And the kid's good. But today it's Robbie Ray. And Robbie Ray, I said it last time Robbie Ray pitched, his strikeout pitch, guys are fouling off. His pitch count is way up. I want to say in his last start against the Dodgers, through 3 innings, he had thrown 75 pitches. And that you're not going to last, man. And he walked 5 Dodgers in that game. I'm sorry, 6. He walked 6 Dodgers in that game. Robbie Ray, to me, a left-handed pitcher against a Houston lineup that's got Altuve, Springer, Bregman. I mean, the list, Gurriel, this list goes on and on of guys who hit from the right-handed side of the plate. He's going to see a dominant right-handed lineup with a bunch of guys who've got a ton of power and a hitter's ballpark. Houston is my favorite stack of the day, even with Coors Field on the slate. I think Houston can put up another huge number tonight. Having put up a big number yesterday and getting deep into that Arizona bullpen, on the second half of this, Robbie Ray has to go out and pitch well to save that bullpen. If he doesn't, this is going to be another 10-run game for Houston.
Yeah, no, I really like Houston. I had a lot of them yesterday as well. So I mean, on the flip side of things, Lance McCullers, he's a pretty good pitcher. He's not the most pushover pitcher that there is. If we're gonna get some interest, we do like Arizona though. It's a really good hitting ballpark. So we're gonna get some exposure to this lineup. We're looking at guys like Marte, Calhoun, Sterling Marte. I like both of the Martes in there. Eduardo Escobar, who came from a trade last year, and then he did very well to end the season. He's decent start to this season. And then Christian Walker, you got the young guy. He has tremendous upside. I think he's a guy you can look at in GPPs. Last but not least, David Peralta. He's been that guy. What do you call it? The cog in the wheel? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Cog in the wheel for the past 5-6 years. Just guy's a hitter. He's going to be in the middle of that order. Very, very consistent. So I think that you can look at him as well, kind of down there in the 6th spot. But outside of the top 6, so that's really where I'm at with Arizona. Like I said, McCullers isn't a pushover pitcher. So you can get limited exposure to the Diamondbacks today.
One guy that I'm going to throw in there for you for Arizona is Jake Lamb. I mean, he's $2,100, and he had some injuries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's gone 1 for his first 16. There was a time where Jake Lamb was a $4,000 player.
Yep.
And $2,100 for Jake Lamb tonight on a guy. McCullers is prone to giving up the home run. So that's the one knock on him. When he can't locate the curveball and has to pitch the fastball, he can get hit hard. Yeah, no,
I definitely and one thing I will say, just to kind of piggyback off that, is I do like the lefties more here. Definitely Peralta, Escobar's a switch hitter, Calhoun, Marte, and then like you said, Lamb. I like that call. I was looking at him, I was just kind of like, but you're right. I mean, the guy, he's a stud when he's healthy. Moving on, next game, we got the Dodgers going into San Diego to face the Padres.
One more thing, bro. McCullers this season, 348 ISO against left-handed bats. So,
like the lefties.
You got the Dodgers? Is that what you said, Dodgers and Padres?
Yep, Dodgers and Padres.
You know who I like a lot in this spot today? I mean, you got Garrett Richards pitching. I don't think Garrett Richards is a very good pitcher for San Diego. And the guy that's been – we'll go back to the cog in the wheel. He's not the sexiest pick. He's not the Bellinger. He's not the Seager. He's not the Mookie Betts. But Justin Turner is the leader of this team, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Really rough night last night for Turner at the plate. Swing and miss on a couple of fastballs where he just swung under him. We've seen this before. You could go probably look back to about this time last year on our videos where I said double donger night for Turner coming. There's a double donger night for Turner coming soon. I don't know if it's tonight. But when Turner's just missing like he's missing, that's one guy. He's like Freddie Freeman. If he has a multiple strikeout game, he's going to go put the work in, and he's going to come back the next day, and he's not going to do the same thing. So Turner at 2,900, I love him in this spot. Obviously, Mookie Betts did come in last night as a defensive replacement for Jock Peterson. So I think that's good news that Mookie Betts should be in the lineup today. And give me all the Mookie and Bellinger. Bellinger seems to be out of the little slump he was in. He's definitely heating up a little bit. He did have a home run 2 nights ago. He scored it on 2 singles last night, scored twice. He's starting to heat up. Anytime Bellinger gets one and does the Griffey walk, you know a guy's starting to feel confident at the plate. So, and then again, if your boy Young Jock is going to be in the lineup and hitting leadoff, 2 nights ago is exactly the reason why we played Jock Peterson, because the guy sits dead red fastball and he's getting that leadoff home run. We've seen him do it so many times. So those are just a few guys. There's this lineup 1 through 9 you can load up, but those are my 4 favorite for today. And of course, Corey Seager's probably the unsung hero of this Dodgers team so far this season.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. So on the Padres side of things, I mean, going against Ross Stripling isn't a guy I necessarily want to attack. 2 decent start. We had a really good start and a pretty decent start still his last outing. But there's a couple guys that really, really like for the Padres. I'm going to start. There's 2 guys that really jump out. First guy I'm really going to go with is I like Will Myers here. Will Myers is 6 for 13 with 2 doubles against Ross Stripling. So if he's going to be in that lineup at a very fair price tag, I like him. And then you got to look at Fernando Tatis, batting at the top of the order. This guy has started the season on an absolute tear. The price tag is up, so he's probably going to be very, very low owned. But I think that you can really look at him outside of Tatis and Will Myers. A couple other guys you could throw in there. You could throw in a Machado. You could throw in a Tommy Pham. Starting the season pretty good. But that's really where I'm at. I don't got too much interest in the Padres, but I think that there is a couple one-offs that you can throw in there and kind of feel pretty good about it. I love Will Myers today. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got the Angels going into Seattle to face the Mariners.
Yeah, man, I'm really interested in hopefully maybe finding out some news about how long we can expect or how many pitches we can expect out of Julio Teheran today. Because the guy, if he's going to get 80 pitches in 5 innings, I want some Julio Teheran. I think that it's $7,400 for a guy. You look at what, I mean, we talk about this all the time. I feel like we say it a lot, the consummate professional. This guy he's been a consummate professional year in and year out for the Braves, pitching in a bad ballpark, a hitter-friendly ballpark. And look, last year he still puts up a 3.81 ERA and a 1.32 whip. And you look at the ISO numbers against him. The ISO numbers against Teheran last season, they're not terrible, right? A 154 ISO to lefties, a 164 ISO to righties. You're talking about playing in Seattle where the weather's cooler. You got the marine layer, colder, dense air, a little bit more of a hitter's ballpark, and a ton of strikeout upside. We know the guy's got an electric fastball. So I'm interested. That's kind of where I start with the Angels. If I can get some news that Teheran is going to be, limited to 80 pitches or 5 innings, I'm going to load him up in tournaments for that price tag of $7,400 to allow me to get exposure to some of these bigger, higher price stacks that we've talked about. The bat side of things, sooner or later, Rendon is going to get hot. Sooner or later. Right. He's a professional baseball player. The numbers are always going to average out. We say it every year. And Rendon has not started off with the best season, right? He's put up okay numbers. He hit the 1 home run in his first game back. That was against Seattle. But
I have a really quick question. I'm sorry. What happened to Mike Trout? He's not playing today, or?
I have not seen anything on Mike Trout not playing today.
Oh, the only reason is so I don't have him in the projected lineup right now. Maybe I need to refresh my screen. I didn't see him there. That's all I was asking. No problem.
I've got him projected as 2.
Okay. Yeah, my bad. I didn't update my thing.
And Mike Trout at 4,400. I think honestly, we've seen him priced at like 4,800, 4,900, 5,000. I think Mike Trout's too cheap. And that sounds crazy to say for a guy that's 4,400. But if you're only going to play one player to go by our number 1 rule, which is have exposure to the last game on the slate, and that's your one-off play, then make it Mike Trout. Ohtani, he's not going to pitch, but he's looking to still hit. And if he's in there at 3,200, very good price tag for him as well. I said this when the season started. I like this Angels lineup a lot. I just don't know if they've got the pitching to get past Oakland and even, some of the other teams in the West. But you have to Albert Pujols still showed last night he could do it. Tommy La Stella has been hot since he got to Anaheim. David Fletcher with the home run last night. So, and I haven't even talked about Brian Goodwin yet. So I like this entire lineup. They go against a pitcher, Marco Gonzalez, that is probably the number 1 contrarian pitcher on the slate. I think he'll have some ownership because in his last outing in Anaheim, he did shut them down pretty well. And like Chris says about Marco Gonzalez, he's just a guy who goes up and eats up innings for you. So, he has shown he can get blown up in the past, but he's not a sexy pick. I think you can get exposure to both these pitchers in this slate, but I do like Anaheim overall as a stack tonight.
Yeah, on the Seattle side of things, I mean, Teheran isn't a bad pitcher. You just talked about it. I do like a couple of these Seattle guys. I'm going to start with my guy, man, Kyle Seager, 3,200, batting in the heart of that order. The guy started the season off on an absolute tear. I think Kyle Seager's a really good play. You can look at shortstop J.P. Crawford at the top of this order at 3,100. I like him as well. And then I think you could even go to the very bottom, and you could round it back off with the Malk Smith at 2,300. All you need for the guy is to get on base. He has, upside to get you 2 stolen bases, hit value. He's coming in dirt cheap. I'm not really going to stack this Seattle team today, but I definitely think that Kyle Seager is my main guy that I'm going to be looking at on Seattle. And I really don't have too much interest in Marco Gonzalez. As you mentioned, this Angel lineup does have a lot of pop, and they are going to really get going sooner than later for sure.
I'll tell you this, bro. If there's 2 guys, if you're playing single entry tournaments tonight and there's 2 guys you want to play, like if you want to build a 3-3 stack and have 2 one-offs in it and single entries tonight, for $3,200 a piece, you get Kyle Lewis for Seattle, late game exposure, and you get Luis Robert for the White Sox in that matchup against Milwaukee. Those are probably the 2 best one-off plays on the entire slate, in my opinion. Number 1 and number 2 as far as MLB pipeline projections goes. Probably as far as our projections go, I think Chris has these guys as number 1 and number 2 prospects, and they've been unbelievably hot to start the season. Both 5-tool guys, they get on, they hit for power, they steal bases. So that's the one guy you mentioned Seager, but Kyle Lewis cannot be avoided right now, just like Luis Robert cannot be avoided right now.
Got you. The last thing I do want to say, I don't want to sound like but I'm going right back to it. So Mike Trout, we talked about Mike Trout, and if he's going to be in that lineup today, on top of everything, I mean, the dude is 12 for 28 with 3 doubles, 2 home runs, and 6 walks going against Marco Gonzalez. So the guy, in my opinion, basically owns Marco Gonzalez. Really good play to kind of get you that late game exposure. And he's coming off birth of a child, home run yesterday. I like Mike Trout a lot today for sure. So I think that's really where we're at with this video. If you do want a more in-depth analysis, make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, all right? Peace out.